All right, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the show. So welcome to the Art of Healing with your host, Dr. Judy Jasek of Animal Healing Arts and Matt Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and alternative treatments for cancer, unexplained illnesses, and supporting your pet's natural ability to heal. Welcome, Dr. Judy, to this week's show.
Thanks, Matt. How are you guys doing? You hanging in there through all this craziness?
Through all the craziness, we are. So it's just, they're starting to reopen the state, which is good. It needs to happen sooner than later. But as you and I both know, if you open it too fast and all of a sudden you see another wave hit, it could bring the entire state of Colorado down again by another 30, 45, potentially even 60 days if we get another push of this. So I just hope they're doing it wisely, and I hope they're just opening up with some thoughts behind it on how to do it right. But we need to open as a
We do. They just need to be thinking about long-term implications, not just what's happening this week. Let's look out into the future and, have to be farsighted. But it's, in all fairness, it's unprecedented times for everybody. So the decision makers, there's no, they don't have any precedent to rely on for this. It's all new territory.
No, I told somebody yesterday that if you would have told me 8 months ago that business decisions I needed to adjust based upon a potential shutdown of the entire economic system and a pandemic, I'd have been like,
you'd have said, right,
go back to your doomsday prepper warehouse and not give me business advice anymore. But yeah, I mean, this is the reality of just what happened. None of us could have prepared for it.
Nope. We just got to pick up and keep moving forward, do the best we can.
Amen. Well said. So on today's show, what are we talking about today, Dr. Judy?
Well, we were talking about, before the show began, about the dangers of over-supplementation. And it sounds like this is something both you and I see. And it's, pet parents are very well-intentioned that they want to do the best for their pets, but there's so much availability of supplements out there and a lot of creative marketing. And I think we just need to be really careful about not over supplementing and doing very targeted supplementation. Do we know, what is the reason we're giving a particular supplement? Is it necessary for that pet? And then bottom line, is it beneficial? Because, I'll ask pet parents a lot, I'll see pets on different supplements and I'll ask, well, is it helping? Did you notice any difference? And a lot of times the answer is, well, I don't know, and right. So we need to know the answers to that question. These supplements are not benign, and we can't just be throwing more and more supplements at pets just because it sounds like a good idea, because I think we can end up causing some pretty significant nutritional imbalances that way.
And you bring up a good point, nutritional imbalances. As you were saying in the pre-show while we were talking about it, is supplements, minerals, nutrients, vitamins, all have an interdependent synergistic relationship with each other. So let's say all of a sudden I start supplementing with magnesium and I get my magnesium levels too high, then all of a sudden it has a negative effect to calcium. And all these relationships that our bodies have. And, it's something that we talk about, first, it's something that we do see when we test, because we get to see over 48 different minerals inside the body. And we look at the intake form, what supplements an individual may be giving their pet. And the ones that show elevated levels tend to have supplementation as a key component to the diet. But I think at some level, we are over supplementing our dogs, just like you said, that I think we do it more from a human side because it's easy. And we feel that we're doing a great job because we're supplementing, because marketing told us that this is the best supplement in the world for making my dog healthy, and this is just what we should do. Well, in all reality, does your dog need it? And if you're feeding a natural raw-based diet, I think that the bioavailability of that food negates or lessens the need for supplementation.
Yeah, I agree. And that's another thing I was going to say is so many of these supplements have synthetics, and the synthetics, you have no idea if any particular pet is going to be able to absorb and digest, and are those nutrients going to be able to actually get into the cells and do what they need to do, because they're chemical replicates of the natural vitamins. And so if I wanted to add in like a whole food supplement, like say just have a pet, I work with a lot of cancer patients. Sometimes they don't eat the best, their appetite kind of comes and goes. So I want to put something in that's going to help round out the diet a bit. I will use a whole food supplement like phytoplankton or, blue-green algae. I mean, there's different names, but basically, when you have an algae supplement like that, always want to make sure it's well sourced, super important, especially in things that can potentially come from the ocean. But it's the whole organism. So you're not giving anything synthetic. You're taking like a whole biological organism and drying it. So you have all the nutrients basically essential for life in a balanced whole food form. It's like, that's the way I like to approach supplementation. And that's a product, that I really like. If you take some of these, other supplements that, they can sometimes have 30 or 40 different ingredients. Right. And you don't know, a pet could be reacting to those. And again, a lot of them are synthetic, and you just have no idea what effect that's having. And as soon as you start to micromanage nutrients, like we were just talking about, you can throw off, because the body's going to try to rebalance. So if you're giving too much of something, it's going to be using the other nutrients to balance it out. So then you could in fact end up deficient in something else, like, well, too much vitamin D, for example. Vitamin D causes, is involved in calcium balancing, balancing the levels of calcium. And so if you have too much, it actually is telling the body to bring more calcium out of the bones. So then your calcium levels go up and your bones get weaker, and you have a real mess. So you really have to know why you're supplementing. Is the supplement appropriate for what your pet needs? And then bottom line is there a benefit to it?
Yeah. That's a great point that you make. Is there a benefit to why you're giving it? And I think at some level, when we ask ourselves that question, why am I giving this supplement? Was it given to me? Did I read about something? Is it just kind of an idea at the moment? But without really determining if whether or not our dogs need it, I think we can fall under prey that we're overcorrecting.
Yeah.
Because as you know, vitamins, minerals is like the Goldilocks. It's ideal is right in the middle. Sorry for the shaking.
Yeah. It's an earthquake.
And it's right in the middle. I mean, too little has negative effects, and too much has negative effects as well.
Yeah, and I see these supplements that I call like, gunshot kind of supplements. They've got everything: prebiotic, probiotic, multivitamin, enzymes, and all of this stuff. And it's like, well, what of those things does the pet really need? And they're marketed from the perspective, well, just give your pet the supplement and that's just going to take care of everything it needs. And the other danger too in using those products is they can become a little bit of a crutch for not appropriately balancing the diet, which is really the most important thing.
So you're saying that we could take, I want to say the word backseat, but that's incorrect. We could try to sidestep or negate the nutrition that we're feeding our pets and really try to correct it with over-supplementation.
Yeah, I think that's a mindset, especially, we talk to people about feeding raw, right? And so people are a little nervous about that because they've not done that. And this bag of dry food says, oh, it's completely balanced and meets AAFCO standards and all that. So people feel like there's a safety net in feeding a diet like that. And so in switching to raw, which is new, I think there's a little bit of an inclination to say, well, I'm not quite sure if I'm doing this right, so I'm just going to throw in some supplements, just like as a CYA. Let's just make sure that I'm covering all of my bases. And in reality, you're not doing your pet any favors, because you're just adding in a lot of synthetics sometimes. And the best nutrition is going to be in that whole food rotation with different proteins, different animal parts. And, that's really where we need to be starting. And then we see how the pet's doing. If we have digestive issues, if there's other issues that we feel like that particular individual needs a little bit of a boost, then we can do some very targeted supplementation. But I think just doing it just because can actually do more harm than good. And I'm actually, really starting to look at the effects this can have on blood work, because I'm starting to see more pets with like elevated liver enzymes with no other apparent reason, like the pet seems healthy. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the pets are on all these different supplements. The liver is the processing organ. The liver has to process everything that goes into the body, and it eliminates the things that the body doesn't need. Well, if you're feeding these supplements that have 30 or 40 ingredients and you're feeding, 6, 8, or 10 of them, you're giving the liver a lot to process. And I think some of these laboratory values we're seeing could actually just be a reflection of the fact that we are overworking the liver with all of this extra supplementation that isn't even necessary. And then there's, the monetary part of it too. I mean, it's, you could spend a couple $100s a month on these supplements and, save that money and put it towards your, good quality raw food, I think a lot of times people are throwing their money away on some of these supplements that just aren't doing their pet any good and could in fact be doing some harm.
Yeah, that's a great point that you're making, that at some point is, I like what you said about pinpointing it and targeting exactly which nutrients may be deficient, or if you're noticing a problem in the dog, is addressing it with one instead of that slew shotgun approach that's going to go out there and just give all the supplements you can to your pet. But because of the relationships it has, and you made another good point, it's expensive. Like, I mean, you start buying supplements like crazy. These supplement companies are in the business of selling supplements. Yes, they have probably a really good mission where they want to make sure that the pet remains healthy and safe and lives a long, happy, productive life. But they're also using marketing dollars in convincing you that your dog may need this. And so at some point is, without having that knowledge about what should I really be giving him, or where's the deficiency coming from, or is my dog over supplement? Does it show signs of too much calcium exposure? Stuff like that. I think we're guessing on health. So, and you make another really good point, because you're so freaking smart.
You're my one and only fan, Matt.
Oh, that's bullshit. Dr. Judy, like, you have many fans. Like, even another show that I do on Fridays, she's like, oh my gosh, you have Dr. Judy on. She just really had a meltdown of how awesome you are, because you are. So,
thank you.
Another point you make, see if I can remember this, is that we tax our livers. Our livers are really that processing center. So everything we eat, consume, goes in our mouth, really has to go through the liver to get processed at one point during digestion. So when it goes through the liver and processes, if we're actually taking supplementation, we're making our livers work way too hard. And we don't rest our liver enough to reset or to rebalance or to actually heal itself if all of a sudden it just started to receive too much of one ingredient or too much of one nutrient. And at that point, then all of a sudden our livers are getting thrown out of balance.
Right. And we want also to keep our livers their functionality, we need them to detox things that we can't completely keep our pets away from. Like, we've talked about glyphosate and other things. There's a lot of toxins in our environment. We need the liver, healthy and, like you said, rested and good shape to be detoxing these toxins that we can't completely protect our pet from. So we don't want to be overworking it with, the supplements and other things, because we really need it to detox some of these environmental toxins that we just can't completely protect our pets from.
Yeah. No, you make a great point. I mean, not even just what your dog eats, but I mean, let's say, we're in spring here in Colorado, and let's say Jamie and I, my wife and I were talking about it last night, is walking the dogs through a grassy field that was green. We live in an arid desert. And so, yes, we've had a lot of rain because it's spring and all that type of stuff, but grass doesn't grow green here because of water. Like if I lived in the Midwest, grass goes green here because it's fertilized. And it has a high amount of fertilization and toxins that are put on top of that grass, and our dogs are coming upon it. So I love the point you make, that at some point, giving our dogs the opportunity to expel those toxins that they may be receiving indirectly. So for example, one of the heavy metals that we test for is arsenic. If you feed your dog rice, your dog is going to be exposed to arsenic. So if they're getting exposed to arsenic, if their liver is taxed because you're hitting it with supplements and you're hitting it in all of these synthetic blends, then all of a sudden you're putting rice on top of that. And then now your pet is fighting all of the toxins inside their bodies.
Yeah, right. Simple, simple is best, when it comes to nutrition, feed a simple raw diet that has, meat, bone, and a mix of organs, and rotate things around. And that's really the best. More is not better. And, a lot of times it's, actually detrimental.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have a patient that comes in and there's kind of an unexplained illness that's popping up, what questions do you ask the pet parent?
I dig deep into both the history and the routine. So I want to know the medical history. What medications have they been on? What vaccinations have they gotten? Has there been any diagnostic testing? Because we can put that information into the picture. But then I ask a lot of details about what is the pet eating, what treats, what supplements. And I find you have to sometimes ask a few times, because the first time around, people just they don't always remember everything. So then I'll ask about treats, or I'll ask about supplements, and then they'll continue to remember more and more and more things that they're adding into the pet's routine. And I will commonly, for non-medically essential supplements, like, if a pet's on heart medication or something that's medically necessary, wouldn't just pull them off of that. But all these other, supplements, nutritional supplements, I'll pull them off. I'll just say, was just going to stop them for 2 weeks and let's see what happens. Let's get a new baseline and see where that pet is at without all of the different, supplements and things that they're adding in. And it can be quite enlightening. A lot of times, pets will do better. Actually just saw a patient this morning, one of my cancer patients, and she over time had added in more and more things. And that's another thing that I see happen is over time, pets will be, they're on one thing, and then they add another thing, and they add another thing. And then all of a sudden they're on a half dozen supplements, and now the pet has diarrhea. Well, maybe those supplements aren't agreeing with him, or it's the combination of supplements, because you don't know, are these ingredients working together and helping the pet, or are they, if they're not complementary, they could be, working against the pet. So I always recommend, let's just take them off of everything for a couple of weeks, reevaluate, and see where things are at. And a lot of times, and then we can start to add things back in one at a time and look at the response. is there a benefit? Does the pet feel better? Does it have better energy, or, better appetite, or stool's better, all those things. And if there's not any benefit, then it may not be necessary.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful point, because that's something we talk about when we train or we educate, is starting slow. I mean, there's an incident that I had with Leo, my Catahoula, where I introduced spinach into his diet. Because it was the only thing I introduced into his diet, I could pinpoint exactly where the itching came from.
Mm-hmm.
When I pulled him off of it, the itching stopped. So now I was in control over, okay, this is the reason for that. He is, he's got a sensitive stomach when it comes to vegetable matter. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
then I control that, and then I can experiment somewhere else and try to helping out his diet. So really with it all, if I don't know, you're better off going back to the beginning, going back to the base, going back to a healthy raw food diet that's mixed with bone and a variety of organs that are in there, and starting there, then rebuild back up. And like you said, you may not even need to at that point.
Right. Exactly.
So this is an awesome topic, and it's definitely something as you guys look, as everybody watching today, and you look more into it, it's definitely pay attention to how much you're giving in every pet. And also take time, have a conversation with Dr. Judy. You can contact her at ahavet.com. I got that right, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I'm
Good job.
Yeah, if you watch previous episodes, I fumble with that, and I don't know why. So Animal Healing Arts is an incredible clinic, and you can see Dr. Judy, if you live here in Colorado, in person. She'll see your pet on her back porch, or she'll actually do telemedicine too, and have a conversation with you about what may be unexplained that I can't pinpoint with my dog. So definitely take the time to go see Dr. Judy, and actually just go to her website, ahavet.com, and check out what she's got. And you can definitely take a look at all of the products that she offers in regards to supporting you on your journey to have the healthiest pet on the block. So Dr. Judy, thank you so much for
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks for hosting, Matt. Yeah. It's great to have a platform to educate people. And also on my website too, if you go to my multimedia page, there's a lot of information. These Facebook Lives, I think the links for these are posted there, other podcasts. And then I have a whole list of blog articles that you guys can all read if you just want to get a little more information on some of these topics.
And what I love about Dr. Judy is she's independent. She's an independent source that takes a look at really what's the truth behind your pet's health. And so all those articles that she has, all the Facebook Lives that we do, it's just a plethora of education information, because we want your pet to live an incredibly long, healthy life. So you can also follow us at ParsleyPet.com. And if you're curious about your dog's nutrients, and if you're feeding the right, or if you're supplementing in the right way, have a test done. Come get a test. The nutritional blueprint will tell you this information. So thank you very much, Dr. Judy, again, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, you're so very welcome. All right, you guys enjoy the day. Stay
Bye, everybody.
healthy.